Portland got punched in the nose this weekend. Atlanta with a 5-1 victory over Portland. Thiago Almada with 2 goals, including an incredible free kick. I saw you tweeting about this morning, so you find it just as interesting as I do. Almada's been the best player in the league so far this season. If he keeps playing like this, he's going to win the MVP. And he's very interesting from a transfer perspective. We spoke to Taylor Twellman about this recently. MLS pivoting to signing younger South American players. Obviously, you'd love if some of them just want to stay in MLS for their whole careers, but realistically, you know that some of them are going to want to end up in Europe. And so part of the sales pitch has to be that MLS can serve as that bridge. The most successful example was Almiron. There have been some since then, but there's a feeling that from a proof of concept standpoint, they're still kind of living off Almiron. And now it looks like they're going to have another great example to point to, because Almada is no doubt going to go to a fairly big club in Europe for a lot of money, probably more than what Almiron went for to Newcastle, so it's going to break the record for biggest sale involving an MLS player. The question would be, does it happen this summer, and then you're breaking up what looks to be a very good Atlanta team that's on top of the Eastern Conference right now, or can they entice Almada to stay for a whole other year and not leave until January? So I think that's going to be the interesting question hovering over the situation. But, I mean, this has just been such a successful signing to entice him to come to MLS, to have him make the Argentina World Cup squad. So now you have a World Cup winner playing in MLS, and him playing the way he is so far this season, looking like he's going to eventually go to Europe for a mega transfer. This has just been perfect all the way around.
It's wonderful to see, and it is kind of proof of concept. But not that MLS needed it, because they've already done this before, but this may end up being the highest transfer valuation in MLS history. And, you know, he is ripe for it. Someone was asking me this morning on Twitter, do you think that we'll be able to keep him for next season? I said, next season? Let's see if you can even keep him through the summer, right? Because there's going to be people that come calling. Now, the valuation that Garth Lagerwey and MLS put on this player is really going to be interesting, because they've never been in a situation where, I mean, you know, the cachet of being a World Cup winner in Argentina, a young player, already right now arguably the best player in the league. So right in that sweet spot moment come this summer, you know, what is he worth? And MLS is going to continue to try to set the bar, and that'll be really interesting ultimately what it comes down to, because, you know, we've talked about Almiron and that kind of stuff, but I mean, the sky isn't completely the limit, but a very high valuation is going to be placed on him. And does that make him untouchable, or do people come in and say, yep, he's worth it?
Yeah, and what Atlanta wants to do is cultivate this dynamic where they can bring these guys in every couple of years. So when Almiron left, they brought in Pity Martinez thinking he would fill that void. He didn't quite live up to expectations. Almada comes in, he has. So when they ultimately sell Almada, they want to be able to pluck another young South American player that can step in. And if you can, that's what, you know, the Benficas and Ajaxes do. They always have, or Dortmund even, they always have the next young player cycling through, so they don't mind as much cashing in, because it's not like it's going to be a huge drop-off. Atlanta, we haven't quite seen that. Like I said, there was that big drop-off from Almiron to Pity Martinez, so we'll see if they can get it right this time and have a player ready to step in for Almada.
The moment for MLS, and I know a lot of people are kind of looking at it, is at what point do the Almadas say, no, I'm not going anywhere. This is where I want to be. I'm going to get paid as much money as I need to get paid. I have a great lifestyle. I love the play on the field. I don't think we're there yet. I mean, the ambition still, and the vision and the dream for many of these players is to use MLS as a stepping stone off to bigger and better things. But that's ultimately the step that MLS wants to take. And I don't know when ultimately that happens. That in that moment, then Don Garber's vision of this league being a league of choice actually comes to fruition.
For now, though, what MLS really gets off on is what Taylor Twellman said. Say Almada goes to some big European club. Every time he plays for them, the announcer is going to invariably reference Almada signed from MLS's Atlanta United, and that's just good publicity for the league, of course.
Absolutely. But, and I've said this before, I can envision a future where the allure of MLS relative to playing and living in North America is such that there are players that are saying no. And I've said this before. People aren't going to the EPL. Players aren't going to the EPL for the weather and the food, okay? They're going for the money. And if you can equal that money and give them the same prestige and credibility and there's nothing lost in that because this is a national team player who obviously wants to continue to play for Argentina. Now you're cooking. There's a reason why so many people want to come to this country, including soccer players. And so maybe at that point you can see a migration happening, but that's sometime in the future. So for now, to your point, making sure that there is good business and there is value associated with the players that are coming from MLS, that's what you got to do. And maybe there is none bigger than Almada going forward when all is said and done after this summer.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops every week. Subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.